Hello, everybody, and Wellness Wednesday at Advanced Integrative Medical 360 with Alexandra Dubiak is an exciting time moving forward because last week we talked about this new branch of your business that's focused on skin that you're going to be in charge of, which is fabulous.
Which I love.
But you know what I find about today? So you're going to do a 3-part series on skin, and I think today's topic in general is so big for so many people because if you have acne or things aren't going right, but tell everybody about the series first, the 3 things we're going to hit on, and then let's go into that.
Yes, acne today is what we're going to talk about, and then we're going to do a show on rosacea, and then we're going to focus a little bit on eczema and psoriasis because those are pretty closely tied in together. So,
this is something that affects a lot of people.
A lot of people, yeah. We see a ton of that. And again, this kind of ties into what I talked about last week, that people come in with these issues and they've been on everything under the sun for, 10, 15, 20 years, and it always comes back and they don't really understand or know why it's happening. So it's just a vicious cycle, like everything else.
You need answers and you get those answers here, which I love. All right, so take it away.
Yes. All right. So acne is our topic for today, and I know this looks super overwhelming, but this is mostly just to refresh my brain and remind me to talk about the important things, because this is a huge topic and we could go on and on about this forever. So gut, diet, and hormone connections with acne specifically. So a ton of patients. I mean, my gosh, I can't even put a number on it. Probably 75% of patients that I've seen, whether primary care or here in this setting, they have experienced acne or they even still have problems. As a teenager, as an adult, it doesn't matter. It happens a lot. So your acne, it's so closely tied to the gut and what you eat. And people, sometimes I feel like they look at me like I'm crazy when I say like, hey, really, like, what do you eat? Like, they don't want to hear that, but it's so true. It's so true. So a lot of the information, all of the information up here is from research articles or controlled, trials that have been done. Like, this is not just information that I gathered from some .com blogger website, whatever. Like, this is legitimate information. So the first thing I want to talk about is the Western diet, right? Which is high fat, foods that have a high glycemic index, processed foods, dairy. Those are examples of a Western diet, of things that we eat, right? So I found it really interesting that there are historically populations of people that did not experience issues with acne. Like, they just always had nice skin. And so when these populations of people started to develop acne issues, they, researchers and doctors and clinicians started looking into, well, why is this? And they actually linked it to these people adopting the Western diet.
Really?
Yes. That now this was suddenly a problem in these populations of people that historically just always had nice skin, right? Different changes in their diet. Large body of evidence that suggests that low fiber, high fat Western diet, that it interferes with fundamental changes that are happening in the intestinal microbiota. Like, so it interferes with your natural microbiota, which are all the organisms that, we host, the different microbes that we host as being a host, right? There's tons of them. Viruses, bacteria, yeast, all of those. And that directly leads to metabolic and inflammatory skin diseases. So it's true. I hate to break it to you guys, but
what you connect these dots, right?
What you eat.
You are what you eat, right?
So what happens with diet alone? So specifically the Western diet, there's been a lot of research and data and literature about this. So it raises insulin-like growth factor 1 and insulin levels when you're eating these foods, right? That are high in fat, high glycemic content. So what does that do when these things are raised? What happens then? Increases sebum production, which is a huge part of acne, right? The sebaceous glands are directly affected. There's a particular type of bacteria that I won't even pretend like I know how to pronounce, but are present that feed off of that, which contribute to acne as well. Increases inflammatory changes in the skin, and it also increases androgens, right? So if you're increasing androgens like testosterone, which we know is directly tied to acne, that's a problem. You don't want increased androgens. And then the funny thing about androgens is that they increase sebum production. So like you're already raising, and then if you have more of these, you're doubling up on your increased sebum production, right? So it's a problem. High-fat diet depletes something called bifidobacterium, which is a good bacteria that we have in our gut, right? It comes in some really good probiotics that we can take. So why is that significant? So they've found that bifidobacterium can improve glucose metabolism and insulin levels. So if the bifidobacterium is helping to lower your glucose and lower insulin levels, right? It goes back to the first point there, that it's going to help with acne, decreasing sebum production, decreasing those androgens, the inflammation. So probiotics can be a good option if we are suspicious that this is a problem.
Right.
There was a randomized control trial showed that low glycemic load diet had a significant decrease in inflammatory and non-inflammatory lesions. So both types of lesions, whether they are inflammatory or not, significant decrease. Significant decrease in inflammation, in the acne severity, and also smaller sebaceous glands. So
what do I want to bet that your typical dermatologist is not asking you all these questions about? And God loves dermatologists.
Yes, love them.
You know, my kids have been to them. I can guarantee you that this was not part of the conversation.
But this is all information that's out there, and it's so significant when it comes to your skin issues. They're just not things that are traditionally considered in your care. Another point, there was a study that I found, over 600 girls, they found a direct correlation in these girls drinking milk and acne.
Stop.
No.
You're connecting dots in my mind about people in my life who have some several of the things that you're talking about.
I'm sure.
Huh.
A Western diet tends to be higher in omega-6s versus omega-3s, which both are good, both play their part, but omega-3s are actually a little bit better when it comes to acne because they found that omega-3s help to decrease that insulin growth factor 1, which is important because it, you know, if it's high, it's the increased sebum, the sebaceous glands, it's the androgens, and all of that fun stuff. So
makes sense.
If you're having more omega-3s in your diet and kind of trying to avoid the omega-6s, it can help with your acne.
Got it.
So, and that's just like the tip of the iceberg in terms of food and bacteria and things, how your gut ties in with acne. But I just kind of wanted to point some of those things out because I think they're really important points and they might open your eyes of how important your diet actually is in terms of your acne. So then hormones, and this is another huge topic, and I only listed 3 up here because we could be here forever, and one thing snowballs into another. It is so complicated and complex, but just very basic knowledge here. Progesterone, which we've all heard of progesterone. We've talked about it on these shows.
Sure.
Progesterone can actually inhibit something called 5A reductase. So that's a problem because 5A reductase is important for testosterone to be converted to DHT, okay? Those are both androgens, but if you think about this, so if you have higher levels of progesterone for whatever reason, and it's inhibiting this 5A reductase, right? You don't have that on board to convert your testosterone to what it needs to be converted to. So guess what? Your testosterone goes up. And what's testosterone? It's an androgen, and it's going to cause, it's a direct correlation with acne. So progesterone can be an issue. Insulin, again, kind of repetitive, but stimulates the growth and maturation of the sebaceous glands. So naturally the progression of that, if you have a you're eating high glycemic foods that have a lot of glucose, a lot of sugar in them, guess what? Your insulin levels go up. Guess what? Higher insulin levels then translate over to higher androgen levels and then increased sebum production. So again, another vicious cycle, right? Just from one thing potentially being off if you have elevated insulin levels. And then LH, which is luteinizing hormones, the last one that I listed there. Androgens are actually secreted under the regulation of your luteinizing hormones. So if there's something wrong with luteinizing hormones, something going on there, you can actually have more androgenic activity because of that.
How do you find out if this is something that impacts one of your... Oh, well, then there's that. Okay, go ahead.
So testing. Again, we're huge on testing here. If you guys haven't figured that out, we are so big on testing, on advanced testing. We don't like to guess. We try to figure out, hey, why is this? Like, we don't want to just slap a Band-Aid on it and it goes away for a little while, but then it comes right back. So advanced testing. We have comprehensive lab testing, which you guys all know. We're going to have a different type of a skin lab test that will involve involves some other things in that are important to know about skin health. GI mapping test, which goes into detail about your gut and your different, the viruses, my gosh, it'll tell you if you have parasites or worms, different bacteria. It's really in-depth report for us. Food sensitivity tests, again, important, especially when it comes to skin. And then a skin health assessment, obviously. I do a really in-depth skin health assessment. So that's an important part of it too,
Right on.
gathering the history. So all those different treatment options are available. Or testing options, I'm sorry. Treatment is the next part of that. So how are we tackling some of these issues, right? Again, prescription, medication, skin products, when we feel that they're necessary for a period of time. But again, focusing on what's the underlying and working on that. But we'll treat the symptoms in the meantime too, not just treating the symptoms.
Of course.
Natural grade skincare products, like we talked about previously, oral supplementation, IV supplementation. You got an IV,
Yes.
like a month or two ago. And then also, again, aesthetics ties into acne, again, because acne patients deal with a lot of scarring, a lot of changes from that. And sometimes aesthetics can be really beneficial whenever it comes to acne patients after you've gotten that cleared up, obviously.
Right.
So,
this is such a big game changer, I think. As a parent of a child who struggled with acne, who was so unhappy, and I bounced from person to person trying to get anybody who would do more than just give them a pill or a cream.
yeah.
Like there's reason
Like
why your body does what it does. And you find out why at Advanced Integrative Medical 360. That's why this place is so significant to me, because you get to find out what's happening. And that is the greatest gift of all.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I think so.
412-227-9255. IntegrativeMedical360.com. Call, make your appointment, ask for Allie.
You're stuck with me on
Get
this one.
on the path. She obviously knows what she's talking about, and she'll help you find the answers you deserve as well. Anything else?
That's it. I think I did enough here
I think
today.
you rock. You rock. All right, guys, until next time, have a good one.